Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Adrienne Asta. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I'm proudly serving our industry as the president of the Massage Therapy Foundation. And today's webinar, I am excited to have Dr. Amanda Baskwill on. She is a registered massage therapist up in Canada and the executive editor of the International Journal of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. So just a little bit of background about the Massage Therapy Foundation. For those of you who don't know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit founded in 1990. So your donations that come to us is what helps us to provide you programming like this for free, as well as many other resources, which we'll talk about at the end of this webinar. Our mission is to advance the knowledge and practice of massage therapy by supporting scientific research, education, and community service. And some of the programs that the foundation provides are research granting, research conferences, this scientific journal, along with a donation from the Registered Massage Therapists of British Columbia. Thank you, RMTBC, for your continued support of the IJTMB. Webinars like this, podcasts, other materials, and we also grant worthy projects that serve the underserved through our community service program. So for more information, massagetherapyfoundation.org is our website. So welcome, everyone. So I have been practicing massage this is going on my 23rd year, owner of a business here in Tucson, Arizona called Center for Self-Care, and I'm proud to be joined by our executive editor, Dr. Amanda Baskwill. Amanda is serving as the Dean of Health, Human and Justice Studies and is the Senior Vice President at the Academic and Loyalist College in Ontario, Canada. Dr. Baskwill, welcome again. I always love having doing these webinars with you, and today we're going to talk about the reviewing and submitting to the International Journal of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork specifically. So by the end of this webinar, here is our learning objectives: to discuss the role of research journals for therapeutic massage and bodywork practitioners, exploring the strategies to find the best available evidence, describing the process of submitting an article to the IJTMB, considering becoming a peer reviewer, and identifying Massage Therapy Foundation resources. So why don't we hop right into it? Next slide, please. So Dr. Baskwill, why don't you start here? Like, tell us the role and the value of a research journal. We think about research, and certainly I imagine Adrienne 23 something years ago first entering massage school and thinking about, like, man, research seems really far off for me. Like, that is, this is something that I'm happy that the people who've been doing this a while are doing, and the researchers are doing that thing. And I don't see myself in this role, which, knowing what I know now, has my view has significantly shifted on that. So what I'd like you to do is tell us what value the research journal has at any stage of our practice, from education to the seasoned veteran like us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And it's great to be here today having this conversation with you. And the role of a research article, I think, is really interesting, especially as you describe it sort of throughout the lifespan of a massage therapist or a body worker. And if we think about starting where you just started us in education, research journals can be really helpful to stay current on what's happening in the field. You are never more current than you are when you're learning in that first education program. And so being able to, both as a student or as an educator, look to research journals to bring in what's new, what's emerging, what are we learning about our practice, to make sure that our graduates are the best prepared to come into our practice and our profession with new ideas. In that education field, but certainly throughout the lifespan of a practitioner, the journals are also important to challenge us, to help us to critically think, to ensure that we're learning throughout that entire process. Because honestly, sometimes we can get a little complacent. We close our door, we see our patient one-on-one, if you're not in a practice that has other folks who are bringing up ideas and helping you to think through them, it can get really lonely, and it can be the same thing day in, day out. And so being able to reach out to a journal to read an article on a topic you've never considered, or maybe one that you're dealing with every day, and it just gives you a different perspective on how practitioners are approaching it, what new approaches might be part of your consideration. The third one is around the concept of ever evolving what we do in that practice. And so ensuring that part of the people, not all of the people, as you said, not everyone has to be a researcher, but that we do have people who are contributing to the research and the body of knowledge for what we do. And if researchers just stayed in their laboratories or their research practices, then the rest of us never get to benefit from that. So the journal is a really important dissemination vehicle or communication vehicle where that information is shared. And in addition to the hard science research journals also provide other types, so commentaries, that discussion on research, the discussion on practice, and it's a way of just creating that community and engaging with that broader outside of maybe your practice, even your association, and with the International Journal, being able to really go across the world and find out what people are doing. And so at the end of it, it's really about improving, whether you're a student, whether you're an educator, whether you're in practice, whether you're a researcher, what you're doing every day by learning what other people are doing.
It's certainly makes it less lonely, like you had said. And it also, there's a pressure for me that gets released when I'm in community talking about things like this, because I think part of the apprehension I was having at younger stages of my career, and I'm wondering if this resonates with some of our audience, is that I need to change the way I do every single technique that I do. If this article is going to show me some evidence that makes me say that I'm doing this incorrectly, which is the complete opposite of what I've been experiencing. Actually, it's a written conversation, mostly. And I think the IJTMB does a really nice job of saying, like, you don't have to immediately change your, what you do in the treatment room after you read this article, but it's just giving you more information and something a little bit more in depth, and maybe a little piece that hopefully you can share with your clients, your colleagues, and your community.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a beautiful way of describing it, as a discussion. Mm-hmm. And the other piece that I would add to what you're saying is that it's a circle. And so sometimes the research that we're reading, you're absolutely right, it doesn't demand any immediate change for clinicians. Instead, it's letting us know how things are progressing, so that when there's enough evidence, then there might be a change. But that is usually a slow and progressive process. So I think it's a really important thing for clinicians to remember, is that, yes, it isn't a recipe to go out and change what you're doing. It's really that discussion. I think it's a beautiful way you've described it.
Next slide. All right, so tell us, there's a bunch of different types of journals. So there are, so go ahead and you put the slide together for us. And I think this helps to kind of give us a nice visual. But if you could talk to the slide a little bit, and describe the different types of journals we have.
Yeah, so I'm going to start in the middle. I'm not going to go across, just to shake it up for folks. So the middle one, the popular journal, is something that it might be a magazine. That might be a better way of describing it. Something that is mostly for entertainment. The articles they're not referenced. They're sometimes based on opinion or experience. They're not connecting back to any type of research or theory. And it's really just meant to be fun. It's got lots of photographs. Popular magazines are anything from National Geographic, which has a lot of fact in it, actually. So, but National Geographic, it might be, any fashion magazines or anything like that, really falls under this popular magazine. As we look to trade magazines or trade journals, this is where we're getting a little bit more specific. So we're expecting to see articles that are written by either association representatives or maybe experts in the field, but they still will be very opinion-based. They might have some references, getting a little bit more theoretical, but really they're there to give specialized information about a specific aspect of practice or maybe of running your business. There still might be photos and advertisements, but it's probably a little less than you would see in a popular journal or magazine. And typically these are journals of organizations within a profession. So it might be an association or it might be a different type of organization. What really differentiates trade journals and scholarly journals is peer review. The articles are written by experts in the field. They're written by practitioners, in our case, educators and researchers. They have affiliations often with educational institutions, or because we have a broader representation, it may be a practicing clinician. There are extensive references. Part of what makes it sometimes daunting to take on writing for a journal is that you do need to have a little bit of an understanding of what's out there and pull together for your readers where you're getting your ideas from and reference that. And in these communications, we're really trying to, as we've already said, we're trying to stimulate people's critical thinking. We're trying to move the conversation forward in some kind of way by adding our experience to it. And that peer review piece can't be underscored enough. It's in a scholarly peer-reviewed journal, each of the submissions goes to a peer. Sometimes it's a peer on the editorial committee in the case of, say, commentaries, but often a peer who specializes in a similar field, either the research type or the content area, who gives feedback to the author in order to enhance the writing, to make it clear what the new information is, and ensures the quality of the research that's being done.
So how do we find the peer-reviewed journals? What is the easiest way? Take us through that process.
Yeah. I mean, probably the easiest way is to head to your friendly neighborhood search engine, and especially Google Scholar, because that gives you an easily searchable database of available articles, and some not available, but more and more are becoming available. But I'm going to kind of start from the top of the different places where you can find it. Certainly, if you are a member of an academic hospital, or you have access to a university library, or even some of the colleges have libraries that are available to the public, either for a small fee or for part of your alumni benefits, you can access the journals that they have through their databases. Some public libraries subscribe to databases that have health journal access, and then Google Scholar. And so that one probably is the one we'll spend a little bit more time on in a minute. But just before we get into the actual searching, it might be helpful just to talk a little bit about that open or not open subscription-based articles that you might find. So if you find an open access journal or article, typically that means it's free for readers to access. And in the case of IJTMB, it's also free for authors to publish. In some other models, authors have to pay in order for it to be free for us to read. So that's a little bit of a distinction between open access versus subscription.
All right.
But if we get back to that Google search, so when you're searching, the most important thing is to make sure you're on Google Scholar, because you can do a search just in a regular Google frame, and the first thing that will come up will take you to Google Scholar, but just skip that whole step, go to Google Scholar. It's set up in a way that helps you to specifically search for scholarly information. It won't bring you back any information that's on popular websites Often, if you search just through Google, you'll get a lot of hits from private, like personal websites or business websites where they're trying to advertise for probably the topic that you're looking for. And we have in Google Scholar a very accessible way to put your ideas in and retrieve hits and ideas. And so on our next slide, we show you just this sample of searching for massage therapy and multiple sclerosis. In here, automatically, we're getting articles that are on this topic. It's searching for those two, or the 4 words, but 2 concepts, and trying to bring back information. And you can play with that search bar. You can try massage on its own. You can try multiple sclerosis isn't a great example, but if you're doing something like cancer, you can search cancer, you can search oncology, you can try all of those different terms that'll help you get to what you're looking for. And a couple of pro tips in here. On the right-hand side where you see it say PDF, Science Direct, or HTML, those are taking you to the full text articles in most cases, or at least the website where you could access the journal or the article. And then on the right side, you have all of the ways that you can filter your results. And so depending on what you're searching for, if you're looking for anything that ever happened on the topic, leave it at any time, which is what this one is set to. But if you're looking for something that is, I just want to know what's happened in the last couple of years, you can choose, just show me what's happened since 2022. And that helps you just to cut down on the amount of information that you're looking at any given time.
So a couple questions. First comes from Dawn. Does IJTMB having being free for authors to publish reduce the peer review credibility? That's a great question, Dawn.
It is a great question. No, it doesn't. It actually increases the credibility, because if you think through the process, if it costs $3,000 for an author to publish an article, there's only a select group of authors who are going to be able to put that money up front. Those are authors that have a research budget at an academic institution, or researchers who have received grant money. In massage therapy, that's not the only research that's happening. There are a lot of researchers who are doing it as part of an academic appointment or as part of their master's work, where they don't have necessarily the funding to be able to publish in an open access, but paid for. And so it really is just an access issue. At the very beginning, when the powers came together and were ideating around what IJTMB could be and who it would serve, it was really important to the founding members that it be accessible for people to publish. But that's a great question.
Yeah. And then the other question was, in the searching, does putting anything in quotations help to refine anything? Massage therapy in quotes versus just leaving it without the quotations, and then you'll get massage stuff, but then you might get other types of therapies as well.
Yeah, you can use that. It depends on the search engine. The Google Scholar has been used enough that the machine learning behind it is beginning to understand how things are broken up. It knows that the and means that there are 2 different ideas. So you can certainly, if you're having difficulty, you can certainly try it. When you're looking for things like not-for-profit, sometimes it does help to put that in quotation marks, because it might get confused on the for piece. So there are some words that do benefit from that. In other search engines, it becomes really important to do that. PubMed is also better, but PubMed, for a long time, you needed to put quotations around concepts that you were using. But many of those are getting better at not having to use that.
Great. All right. I want to acknowledge Anne and Suze for your questions, and we will get to those at the end of the webinar today. So hang tight, Anne and Suze. All right. Okay.
So this is just carrying us along in that, if you clicked on one of those links that we saw on the right-hand side, it would take you to, in this case, it takes us to the National Library of Medicine, where we see like the PubMed Center, where we see the basic information for this particular article. Because it's open access, you can probably read everything on that PubMed Central link. But If you wanted to go directly to the article, maybe you want to download it because you're going to read it later, or maybe you're one of those people who, fine, I will search online, but I'm printing it off because I'm going to highlight it and make all my notes on it. You can download the PDF or the HTML version and keep it for your future reference. So this just takes us through those last couple of steps to get to the article itself.
Perfect. All right. Talk to us about our journal, IJTMB.
Happy to. So IJTMB is, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the product of many people coming together and thinking about the future of massage therapy and bodywork research and the communication of that research. And so it is a peer-reviewed journal, and it focuses on research across different areas. So of course, research in massage therapy, in bodywork, but we also take articles around research and education, or education practice, research and practice, or practice experiences. And so there's a lot of diversity of topics that someone could write about or read about. And it does focus in on manually applied therapeutic massage and bodywork. So we're trying to stay away from some of the ancillary types of treatment that are outside of that scope. We have other areas where you can contribute as well. You could submit a commentary. So you could talk about something that you'd read in the journal. Maybe you had a different experience and you want to share that. Maybe you have read a couple of competing ideas and you want to present that to other readers. So we're looking for those. And you can also share some of your practice insights. And so we can certainly support you in doing that. Our writers are massage therapists, educators, massage therapy researchers from around the globe. And so it's really exciting to be able to go through the different years of the IJTMB and just see where all of our contributions have come from. And I don't think you can state enough that it is open access, free to submit, free to read, free to cite, and all because of the Massage Therapy Foundation and the RMTBC. So thank you to them for providing this forum for us all to engage in.
So this might answer Anne's question. Can you republish or share research articles that are on open access or Google Scholar, or are they subject to a copyright?
Yeah, so open access you can. On every journal, there should be a commentary on whether they're open or not. And so for us, we have a Creative Commons attribution that explains what can be done. So yes, in terms of our open access, you can share them, you can cite them, you can share a link to the documents. They're open to be used. So we've had people reach out and request and say, how can I get a subscription for all of my students? You don't need to, just give them the link. They can sign in, they can sign up, they can get all of the, or they can go to the website, they can sign up for notifications, but there's no cost for that. And so it's great for educators, it's great for students, it's great for practitioners.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for that question, Anne. All right. So I think we touched a little bit on this, what can be submitted.
Yeah, so I think we got to all of those letters to the editor. I think I missed, but certainly if you can imagine it and it's something to be communicated to the research, education, and practice world for massage therapy and bodywork, we want to hear from you.
So, all right, so let's say that we want to submit, and this question's popping up a couple of times here. Take us through writing and submitting. Let's do an article first, for to start with, because that's probably the most intensive, I would say, right? Versus a commentary. And do I have that correct?
Hey, it depends on where you are in your own journey. Sometimes writing a commentary is just as daunting as writing an article. So yeah, I mean, really any manuscript that's coming to the IJTMB starts with your idea. So you've read something somewhere, you've had an experience in the classroom, you've had an experience in your own practice, you've been noodling it around, and you want to share it with your colleagues, with your community. You start getting that pen to paper. Adrienne, you and I had a great conversation about how do you get over that hump? I don't think I'm a writer, so how do I write something? Some of the suggestions we talked about were record yourself talking and then write from there. Get your ideas down in some kind of format and work with a friend to get the flesh on the outline that you've created. So whatever writing process that you go through to get to your manuscript, that's where you start. Then your manuscript comes to us. In a moment, we'll show you the actual screen so you can get a little familiar with what it all looks like. But you would log into IJTMB, set up your author account, and submit your manuscript. And for me, that's the scariest moment. You're looking through everything. You're hoping you've got the right draft. You want to make sure you've given enough information to the editorial team. But as soon as you push that button, it goes out, and you're probably wondering where it goes from there. And so I want to demystify that a little bit. It comes to me, so it comes to the executive editor in the first instance, and I do the first read of it. And what I'm looking for is, first and foremost, is it aligned with the scope of the journal? And if it is, that's great. It moves on. If it isn't, but it's close, I'll send back that feedback to the author. And so I'll say, you have a lot of really great ideas here. The way it's written doesn't align with our scope. Here's our scope. If you want to reformat it, revise it, then you can resubmit and we can continue through the process. And if it's not, I wish the author well and wish them luck in finding a journal that fits their manuscript and their work. It's out there. It just the authors whose article and manuscript aligns with the scope of the journal. The next thing that happens is you get assigned your very own associate editor. So we have 2 associate editors, and we share responsibilities for supporting manuscripts through the review process. And your associate editor then becomes sort of your touch point throughout the review process. They're the ones who then read through the article. If they have any questions that they notice or something that they think is going to delay the review process, they'll reach out to you directly and do a little bit of work on maybe tidying some pieces up, just so that you're putting your best foot forward to the reviewers. And they'll also find reviewers. At the IJTMB, we use an anonymous process for review. So it means that any information that might identify the authors is removed from the manuscript, and the authors never receive any information about who their reviewers were. So it's a completely anonymous process. We have at least 2 reviewers for each manuscript, but depending on the complexity of a manuscript, we might bring more people on. We tend to try to find someone who is an expert in the research methodology that's being used and an expert in the topic. So we get back really diverse comments and feedback so that both aspects of a manuscript can be supported. If it's an education manuscript, then it might be an educator and then someone in the topic area, so it just depends on the type of manuscript. Once we get feedback from the reviewers, that's given to the authors and they have some time to work with the manuscript. Because a reviewer gives you a comment doesn't mean you have to answer them all or change everything. If you're reading through and saying, you know what, I don't think they understood what I was trying to do, then it's a matter of communicating that. And so really it becomes a big discussion between the associate editor, the authors, and the reviewers until the manuscript gets to a point that it's ready for publication.
That's helpful for people like me who don't like to hurt other people's feelings with the
Yeah.
Right. So that's, it's good to know. It's like, hey, here's my perspective from reading this. And then it's not like, that's not like bond, right? That is yet another discussion point.
Yes.
We have a question. What is the process for rebuttals?
Yeah. So in terms of the rebuttals, I'm going to answer in terms of that dialogue, but if you mean something else, just give us a little bit more information. So the process for rebuttals is often made with a chart. I love a great chart. So you would list all of the comments that the reviewers had given in one part of the chart, and then across from it, your comments. And so sometimes the comment is updated, and sometimes the comment is we've left as is, and here's our rationale. And that goes back to the associate editor for the first review. If they have questions, they follow up. And then if everything's aligned, often it goes back to the reviewers to ensure that everything's been met, they're satisfied with the rationale, and then off to publication.
Awesome. Cal, let me know if there's more that you need from that. Okay, and Suze, I see that I think we're going to get to this on the case study page, so let's
While we're here, the other thing I wanted to say, because you made me think about it, was I think we're going to talk about being a reviewer later on, but certainly getting reviewer comments back. It doesn't matter how gentle and well-intentioned a reviewer is. I find that my first reading is always challenging. And so the best advice is always either read it through, put it away, do nothing with it, go for a walk, or have someone else review it with you the first time so that they can say the positive things out loud in addition to the things that might need to be changed. Because so often we quickly read past the positive ones, which might be the majority of it, and we really narrow in on the things that have been recommended for change.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Thank you for answering all of those questions. Okay. Are we, here we go. Are we here? This is physically how you do it. Make a submission.
Yeah, this is the page.
The page. All right. So, talk about becoming a reviewer. I think this might be a keystone piece of, bridging that gap for anybody who wants to go from wanting to be more involved in, directly involved in writing and the research and contributing to the research process, and actually, actually doing the work. So, so go ahead and tell us how to become a peer reviewer and what that entails.
So I think what you say is just so on point. If you've been reading the journal maybe for a while, you have some ideas for writing, but you're not really sure about it, maybe jump in as a peer reviewer and get your feet wet, see the process through that lens, and that might give you the confidence that you need to submit your first manuscript. The role of a reviewer is what it sounds like. Your responsibility is, with your expertise and through your lens, to review a manuscript prior to publication, to give feedback on what has come across really well, what's communicated well, and what is challenging or misleading or needs further information in order to be more accurate, and to share that information with both the associate editor and the author. And so in our system, there's a form that you fill in that takes you through each aspect of the manuscript that you're reviewing and asks you to provide your thoughts on it. As I said before, this is an anonymous process, so you won't know who the author is, and they won't know who you are. And when the information goes back to the authors, you're given a letter. And so depending on, if you're reviewer A or reviewer B, then it will say reviewer A had these comments, reviewer B had those comments. The amount of time that it takes to be a reviewer really depends on the length of the manuscript, your comfort with the topic, and your own process. We have some reviewers who read the manuscript 2 or 3 times before they send back feedback, just because that's their process. They read it once through fully, they read it through a second time and make their notes, and then they read it through a third time to make sure that there's nothing that they haven't meant to communicate that end up in there. And so all of that comes together for them. But some read through it once, send it off, and that's it for them. And all those processes are fine, but it does change the amount of time that you expect depending on how you prefer to go about it. The other thing I think that's important to note is that we are looking for reviewers with a diversity of experiences. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know anything about stats, so I don't want to sign up to be a reviewer, that's okay. When you get to that section, just indicate that this isn't your area of expertise and that you don't have any comments on that portion. And that way it cues the associate editor to know that either we're relying on the other peer reviewer, or we might need to add a third person, and that's perfectly fine. We want to have multiple voices and speaking to the quality of the manuscript.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, case reports. So the Massage Therapy Foundation has a case report contest, and they we have one for students, and we had one for practitioners that was put on hiatus for a little bit, and now we rebirthed that because now is a good time to contribute. So talk a little bit about the case report contest and how it integrates with IJTMB.
Yeah, so case reports are a great piece of research. I think that they're very accessible for clinicians, for students to get their feet wet, both in understanding the research process, but also seeing how it can align with the clinical decision-making process. And so the case reports gives that opportunity, as you've indicated, for practitioners and students to share a little bit about what they're seeing in this organized format. And so there is an opportunity, whether you are a winner of the case report contest or a strong participant, to submit your case report to the IJTMB. One of the two great contributions that case studies make, first of all, they tend to share very unique experiences. Because often the topic of a case report, or the person that you're working with, is coming with a very complex set of presentation, and you're able to speak to all of that in a case study. Sometimes in larger research projects, those are your questions. Who were these people, and why did they screen out everyone who had diabetes? All of my patients, my clients who present with this type of pain have this condition, and now these results are not meaningful to me. And so they really do speak to unique presentations, complex presentations, and how a single practitioner went about supporting that patient or that client. And the second thing that they do is they provide a base for future research. So you could be inspiring the next larger scale research study by sharing what you noticed in your practice and what worked or didn't work for you. And I think that's probably an important thing to note about case reports too. It's not just about all of the things that went well, it's the things that were confusing, or something you expected to go well that didn't go in that direction, but maybe there was a different outcome that you weren't expecting. And so all of that is really great to hear about.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Next slide. Let's see what the next slide is. All right, before I get to some foundation resources, I want to answer a couple of questions that came in through the Q&A. So more information on that rebuttal question. Hi, Corey. Thank you for joining us. I really meant about rebutting published articles. So is there a way to do that?
Yes. Okay. I was wondering if that might have been.
Yeah.
So the commentary is the format that you're looking for. So in the commentary, you're welcome to choose an existing publication or maybe multiple ones and present the evidence, the theory around your opinion or concerns that you have. And so certainly that can come through the commentaries.
Okay, great. And then we have a follow-up to the case study question. I have a case study on ketamine-assisted massage therapy I'm working on at the moment. I'm looking at case guidelines to see if I can work my paper into your format. Is that something to reach out to you directly about, or somebody on our case study committee here at the foundation?
Yeah, if it's for publication, I'm happy to support. So yeah, we did this before. What is my email address? We'll find that out and put it in the chat. I think it's execeditor@ijtmb.org, but I will find out. Okay. So yes, happy to help. If it's related specifically to the case study competition, probably someone at MTF would be better, just to make sure that the case study competition expectations are met.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Let's see. That's that. All right. So let's move on to the foundation resources in the couple of minutes we have left. So the Massage Therapy Foundation is exec editor. Wait, hold on. Exec editor at IJTMB.org. Thanks, Amanda.
You got it.
All right. So the Massage Therapy Foundation gives a lot of free resources thanks to individual donors like yourself, our corporate donors, anybody who decides to participate in any of our fundraisers. All of these resources are available to us at any point. I want to specifically bring everybody's attention to MassageNet, because we've been talking about in today's webinar, we've been talking about this conversation, right? And this community that we're trying to build, and this bridge we're trying to build between what's actually happening in the treatment room through researchers and just the conversation of massage therapists doing massage work in their massage environment. MassageNet is the place to go to be considered if you want to participate in your capacity on research projects in your area. It's free to join, and you are not obligated to do anything by signing up in that database. And there's a lot of excellent things coming down the pike through our practice-based research network. So go ahead, if you haven't already, go to massagenet.org and sign up to be on that list and really be part of the conversation. Everybody on this webinar is interested in that in some way. That is the hub to do it. We have community service grants, research grants, these educational webinars. We have student and faculty tools to teach research literacy in your curriculum. Our case report hub will help guidance with case reports for the contest or not. We've been talking about the journal all day. The infographics are something I print out and give to my clients and colleagues. The free ebooks, we have research posters, we have other research tools, and our free podcast, our Research Perch podcast, which talks about a myriad of things, but mostly how the research that is being done in the massage therapy field applies to our practice. Next slide, please. Here's where to find us: massagetherapyfoundation.org, IJTMB.org, massagenet.org. Here is the info at Massage Therapy Foundation for your email, and exec ed at IJTMB.org if you want to go right to Amanda. To stay informed, you want to sign up for our newsletter. We don't bombard you with emails, we just let you know what's going on. And if you would like to earn continuing education credit for today's webinar, you could take that link right there, and or you could go right through the Massage Therapy Foundation's website and find this webinar. There's a brief form and a quiz, and you earn 1 CE once you get a passing score, and we really appreciate you being here today. We have just a couple minutes left. If I can just look at what we have, if another question came through, and no other questions are here. So anything else, Amanda, that you think our audience needs to know in this moment?
I just wanted to go back to one of the posts that Dawn had mentioned around resources, and I think we provided a lot of resources for someone who's looking to start a case study, but I did just want to take a moment to plug the writing mentors. So we don't typically have the capacity for writing mentors to help when a project is just getting started. But if you've gone through your project and you're getting ready to publish and you have a draft and you've submitted it, but you think it needs a little bit more work, or you're interested in working with a writing mentor, it's something that you can request during that submission process in your notes to the editorial team. And it's also something that as an editorial team, we consider when we're reading manuscripts. And so the writing mentors can support anywhere from just having a conversation to provide a couple of ideas on how you might reorganize what you've already written. Maybe it just needs a few finishing touches. They can also do some support, some minor writing that might not qualify as an authorship, but that might be an acknowledgement in your paper just for their support. Or we've also had some writing mentors where they've become full authors, or there's you know, some kind of financial compensation that's set up. It's a lot of options available. So I just wanted to share there is that support as well, but usually more in the writing later in your process and not in the setup. For the setup, I think a lot of resources have been provided on how to get started with the case study.
Awesome. So I want to thank you, Dr. Baskwill, for hopping on with us today. I want to thank the Registered Massage Therapist of British Columbia for your support of the IJTMB, keeping it open access in conjunction with the Massage Therapy Foundation. And if you are interested in writing and don't know how to get started, we have a writing committee on the foundation that talks about what's currently happening in massage research, and we have a lot of support in that area as well. This is Adrienne Asta, president of the Massage Therapy Foundation, with Amanda Baskwill, executive editor of the International Journal of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork. Thank you so much, everyone. It was great to see everybody.